Jumbo, y'all. My name is Sebastian. I'll be your safari guide out here today in the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. A couple of reminders before we head on out there. Make sure to keep your hands, arms, legs, and feet inside the truck and to remain fully seated at all times. That is for your safety as well as the safety of the animals out here. And as we head on out to go see those animals, we are visiting them in their home, so we do want to make sure to be respectful of them at all times. Now we're going to be starting off here today in the Little Ituri Forest. And the animals in Ituri, they can be a little bit shyer. They like to use that dense foliage out here to hide out. It's their main form of defense against predators. Just kind of disguise themselves out there. But we can still get pretty lucky. Already a couple of animals out there for us to take a look at. On the right hand side, they're kind of around the tree stump. There's two animals. Firstly, there's that little yellow-backed tiger, that little gray one with that yellow streak on its back. They get their name from the Afrikaans word for to dive, because when they are startled, they'll kind of dive into those bushes there and basically disappear. They're super shy. It's always really fun when we get a chance to see them out here. And then that brown animal with those striped legs is an okapi. Also a saddle-billed stork walking around out there, that big black and white bird there. You probably see she's got those really long legs. They are the tallest stork in Africa, about 5 feet tall on average. Those long legs makes it a little bit easier to navigate the waters out here in the rainforest, rivers, ponds, all of that. And as for that okapi, because of those striped legs, a lot of times people think they're related to zebra, but they are actually the only living relative of the giraffe. We know that because of the shape of their skull, among some other things. For example, they both have what is called the smallest subspecies of rhino on the African continent, so they can get even bigger than that. We'll keep our fingers crossed we see some bigger rhinos further along our safari, but it is always a treat to get to see the black rhinos out here. Some greater kudus and some bongos. The greater kudu, that big tan one hanging out on that right-hand side there, and then the bongo's going to be coming up over just past the bamboo on the left here, those sort of rust-colored animals, so those really pretty curved horns you see peeking out there. Might notice that the bongos and the kudus, they've also got those stripes on them, kind of on their back and on their torso, just like the okapi did on its legs. It does serve the same purpose on all three of those animals. Those stripes will kind of mimic what the sunlight looks like as it filters through the trees and the bamboo out here. That way they can blend right in, stay a little bit safer, a little more hidden away from any of those predators that might be lurking around the forest somewhere. Looking. Firstly, all the big white birds hanging out kind of on the island and on the shores are some pink-backed pelicans. Wingspan of around 9 feet long or so on those birds. It's just about as wide as that canopy that's over your heads right now. Definitely much bigger than they look like when we're just looking at it from our truck. Very bottom of the riverbed, and then they walk or they run there as needed. So it is very easy for those animals to really just disappear right into those deeper waters out here. So I am glad that those were hanging out a little closer to shore and a little closer to the surface for us to take a look at, because sometimes even just a quick glimpse of them as they come up for air is lucky. There's also going to be some Nile crocodiles as we cross this bridge here. There's two just kind of hugging that rock wall out there. We see those long, scaly bodies. And then you might also see some of them laying really still in the water. That is the main way crocodiles like these hunt. They will lay out there for hours at a time. So they end up looking a little more like driftwood, sunken logs, anything like that. Then their prey will wander on past, not even realize there's a crocodile there until there's not too much to be done about it. They are ambush predators in that regard, so they kind of just sit around, wait for their food to come to them, and really just exert as little energy. If you do see something and I don't mention it right away, it is very likely just because we're going to pull up a little closer to it as we keep on driving. So of course, feel free to enjoy any and all of those views just as soon as you spot them. But again, don't worry too much about it. Mention something immediately. Just means we're going to get closer to it. So we're going to get kind of a closer look at it. It's going to be these Nkoli cattle out here. They look sort of like cows that got those big wide horns up on their heads. Those horns might look pretty heavy, but they are actually made up of a honeycomb-like structure. So they're basically hollow. Only about 30 or so pounds on average, which for a big animal like that is really nothing much to carry around. They even have blood vessels running through those horns. It keeps them a little bit cooler during those hotter parts of the year. There's also going to be this eland. She's kind of walking down this way, so we'll kind of cross paths here. That big tan animal that's over there. Elands, they are some of the largest antelope in Africa. About 6 feet tall at the shoulder. They'll weigh around 2,000 pounds. Still pretty gentle though. Elands are actually so docile they've even been domesticated at times, so we'll drive past them there. And then actually hiding away in this little cave on the left there, there's African painted dogs. They are pretty cute. They do look a lot like domestic dogs, definitely wild animals though. They are some of the most successful hunters of any animal in the wild, with about an 80 to 90% success rate on their hunts. Has some zebras on either side of us here, so wherever you're sat, you should get a pretty great view of them. If you happen to notice around those zebras' kind of neck and throat area, that loose flap of skin that dangles there, that's called a dewlap. Hartman's mountain zebras are the only kind of zebra with a dewlap, so that's one of the ways we can tell which ones we're looking at here. You might also notice, since they are hanging out pretty close to each other, that their stripes are actually unique on each individual one. Running across the fields as we came down the hill, those little springbok out there kind of up and down that hill grazing at the moment. Those little tan animals, they've got those white underbellies and marking feet across with a running start. That's how they'll stay safe from predators, is just kind of startling them with that jumping motion and then running off to safety. And that means they can reach food from the tallest of trees out here on the savannah. They don't have to worry quite as much about competing for resources when most animals just can't even reach the height these giraffes can eat from in the first place. It's going to be some more by the palm trees here on the left as well. I mean, they're vertebrae than in us humans and most other animals. And that extra space just keeps those necks a little bit more flexible so they can eat from up high, down low, wherever they want to, and most importantly, wherever they might end up needing to. And they're kind of hiding in the bushes a little out in the wild, so they are pretty feisty. And as we enter this next area here, you're going to start seeing one of those elephants just past that big rock wall on the right there. Probably coming in out of view there for a little bit. If you don't see them just yet, you will in just a second. And I will talk about the elephants in a very, very short moment, I promise. But before I do, I want to point out this monkey walking over on the left, or that mandrill just past the trees there. Now, mandrills, they are the largest species of monkey in the world. A male like that is about 100 pounds large, which for a monkey is very, very big. But I know that seeing those mandrills at the same time as the elephants can that right-hand side for just in a moment or so. Now, male elephants still get to be around 13,000 pounds large or so when fully grown. That is one of the boys there, although I suspect one of the younger ones, just based off his size. Elephants do go for 8 pounds. So that elephant that we just saw, he's probably in his late teens, somewhere around there, and he'll grow for at least another decade. Each other in what is referred to as a bachelor herd, but even then, it's still a pretty good rule of thumb to follow. You see one elephant by itself like that, even a slightly smaller, cooler morning than we usually have out here on the savannah. But if you've ever been here in the summer when it's really hot, you for them. Very, very sensitive ears, and really gentle, which is the reason why a lot of elephants are so afraid of bees out in the wild. They will not only stay away from those extra painful bee stings, but they also have a special noise they let out that warns any other elephants in the area to stay really far from there. That's something we know because of research that was done right here on the reserve with elephants just like these that we've been driving past. And it has been really useful knowledge to have because farmers that once had trouble with elephants breaking into their farms, destroying crops and all of that, they can now set up beehives along their fence lines. Keeps those elephants away without hurting them, and even gives those farmers an extra crop to profit from with that honey. So it really is a win-win all around the Elephants and Bees project. And of course, hanging out on that island and in the pond, there are a bunch of greater flamingos. Whole big flock of them. Now, greater flamingos, they are the lightest pink of all flamingos. That's why they have more of that light dusting of rose on them. Not that really rich and vibrant pink or magenta you might have been being chased down by predators. And you're going to start seeing one of those white rhinos over on the right-hand side there. Not going to talk about them just yet. I promise we will. But before talking about the rhinos, I do want to point out there's a cheetah walking around on the left. There are actually a couple of cheetahs. You see that movement down by the bushes. They are beautiful big cats, those cheetahs there. Really, really impressive as well. They go about 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds. Top speeds of 72 miles per hour. They are the fastest animal on land.
Oh my God.
Wow. Is he coughing? Good morning.
Really gorgeous view of that lying there. Always super special to get to see them, hear them both nocturnal because it makes it a little bit easier to hunt. Obviously, it's easier to ambush your prey when they're asleep, but also their night vision is what makes more sense to go out when it's darker. And I did see a whole bunch more white rhinos, so do not worry, we're going to get some more views of them kind of right around this corner. But before we do, there's also some warthogs hanging out just past the logs. There's 3 of them kind of sniffing around the ground, eating some hay out there. And they kind of look like big hairy rocks. Those warthogs are a little bit younger. They're still juvenile, so they're a little bit smaller. They've still got a little bit of growing left to do. But if you see those kind of white marks right at the corner of their mouth, that is their tusks starting to grow in. Warthog tusks, they are made up of those white rhinos all enjoying their breakfast together. They're about 5,000 pounds large when fully grown. The younger rhino's eyes is really small and stubby. Warden's post on our way out, and you can see all those little Nigerian dwarf goats the warden's been taking care of lately. They are very, very cute. They look a lot like baby goats, but most of these here are fully grown. This is just about as big as those goats are ever gonna get to be. Still can. Although, just because they're endangered, it doesn't mean we should give up on them completely, of course. We can all do our part.